Passion, talent, development. NCAA hockey offers all that, and its players graduate at a 93% rate. Trevor Zegras.
And they score on the lacrosse move!
Jake Gensel.
Gensel banks it towards the goalie. Score!
Cale Makar.
Cale Makar, he scores!
Stars on campus before the NHL stage. Whether you're a fan or a player, nothing compares to college hockey.
My goodness gracious me!
Visit collegehockeyinc.com and follow at College Hockey.
Welcome back to College Hockey Today. I am Jason Hadjdy with College Hockey Inc., joined as always by Grand Forks Herald hockey reporter Brad Schlossman. Beanpot week, Schloss. We record on Wednesday morning. We had a couple of Beanpot games Monday night. We will get a BC BU championship. Why not?
Yeah, what a weekend for me to be able to sit on the couch. North Dakota was off, so I watched games all Friday night, all Saturday night. And then I watched Sunday, UMass played Lowell, and then all of a sudden we get the treat on Monday. Like, oh, it's been a wonderful week to sit and watch all sorts of games. And
Full degenerate mode. I love it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, even watching some junior hockey if I can, to see some recruits that are coming in. It's been great, and the Beanpot is always a fun tournament to watch just because of I feel like you have great crowds and the atmosphere, and you can tell that it means something to the players. You know, there's a little bit extra in those games. I feel you can, with how hard the players are playing and want to win that tournament and want to be playing the night game on the second Monday. And, you know, really, I think that the first game, BC's rolling right now. And just, you know, the way that they were able to win a game against BU without Teddy Stiga and Ryan Conmee. They got Conmee back for the Beanpot, which helps, but they're playing really well. I'm really impressed with Luka Kluche. He's been a good pickup for that Eagles team. And that was, and the other thing we saw, and we'll see it again in a week, the two draft eligibles who were brought in mid-season. So much hype about Tyne and Lawrence. I feel that Oscar Hemming kind of a little bit went under the radar. Boy, has Oscar Hemming been good. I mean, scouts watching him have got to be thinking his draft stock is going up right now. He's big. He's got skill. It feels like he's in the middle of a lot right now for BC. So
four assists in his last 3 games. Still looking for that first goal. BC also got Andre Gassot back. He's played recently. He's played, let me see. I just had his stats up here too. Bear with me.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He had a couple of assists against Harvard in the Beanpot, 6-game point streak in January here. Since coming back, he's been really good.
That does help BC's offense. Obviously, Oscar Jelvik's been out for a very long time here. I haven't heard an update on him for a while, but that just seems like a BC team. There's 2 teams right now in Hockey East, maybe 3, that are really buzzing, and it's BC, Providence, and I would throw UMass in that category as well. And so we had a bunch of teams that were kind of on the outside looking in, and those teams are rolling. The night game, BU taking on Northeastern. That game goes into a kind of a wild game at the end, ends up going into a shootout. So that game goes down as a tie, and it is BU that ends up advancing through the shootout. 2 teams that are kind of going through some struggles lately. And I think for BU, they're hoping that, you know, I know it goes down as a tie, but there's at least got to be some good feelings coming out of that game because they advanced to play BC. And we are going to see 4 BU BC matchups in the span of a month. We already saw number 1, BC won last week, 4-1. Number 2 is going to be the Beanpot final. Then they play a home and home February 27th and 28th. So we are going to see a lot of BU BC coming up.
games BU really, really needs. They're 24, I believe, in the NPI. BC is not exactly safe either at 12. Massive implications with those 4 games.
Yep, those will be big ones.
We saw a lot of streaks come to end over the weekend. Winning streaks, losing streaks, winless streaks. Let's talk about the winning streaks that came to an end a little bit here. St. Thomas had an 11-gamer snapped by Michigan Tech. Western Michigan had their 10-gamer come to an end. Omaha with the win in that one.
That one might have been the biggest surprise of the bunch. Western Michigan's just been absolutely rolling. Omaha's been struggling. That's the nature of a deep conference, though. The Mavs come through, win that game. I think it was 4-1 on Saturday night to break that streak. And, North Dakota was sitting at home saying, thank you in the chase for the Penrose Cup because things are getting tight there. And that maybe gives North Dakota a little bit of a breathing room there. St. Thomas, Michigan Tech's a pretty good team. And that one doesn't surprise me as much. Penn State had a 7-game winning streak come to an end against Michigan State. I think, the losing streaks that came to an end, Bemidji State, they were winless in 12. That is just hard to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver A. Young Ashton, I hope I'm saying that right. This is why I go into print, but the goaltender at Northern Michigan,
been unreal.
Boys, he is having an incredible season, and I feel because the wins haven't come, we're kind of not talking about him as much. But wow, his save percentage is .927. That's even after the loss on Saturday night, and he's 2-12. He has one of the best save percentages in the entire country for a team with 3 wins. And he got hurt for a little bit, and that's probably, in part, Northern Michigan struggles. He's back. He played phenomenal Friday night against Bemidji State, 38 save shutout. And then finally on Saturday, Bemidji State, which has struggled so much to score, breaks through 7 goals in that game. And that had to feel good for the Beavers and Tom Serratori to, that's not a bad hockey team. I've seen them in person. That's not a bad hockey team. And they just were not, the pucks weren't falling for them, and they finally did.
Yeah, sometimes that boulder starts rolling down the hill and it's almost impossible to stop it, or it feels almost impossible to stop at times. Watched a lot of hockey over the weekend. What did we learn over the weekend?
I think we learned that people still love outdoor games. Mm-hmm. I think we were is the novelty going to wear off as time goes on, and we've seen these over and over again? If done right, nope, it hasn't worn off at all. There were 75,000 people at Penn State, Michigan State, Beaver Stadium. Unbelievable setting that looked like. The players lived up to it and gave the fans an unbelievable game as well. That was a great setting and scene for college hockey. And yeah, I was just like, no, the novelty is still there. People love them. If you have a setting like Beaver Stadium to do it in, I think that plays a big role in it. But what an afternoon that was.
The Spartans kind of flipped the script on Penn State in that series, scoring 11 goals over the 2 games. Michigan State isn't the team that's known for high-flying offense. It's Penn State that is. Flipping the script there, Charlie Stramel with the hat trick at Beaver Stadium.
Yeah, that was quite a way to finish it off there. Hat trick goal for the winner. And kind of a back and forth game. We saw a lot of the stars for each team play really well.
Yeah, good point.
Aiden Fink was awesome. Gavin McKenna, he is starting to get hot. He has 14 points in his last 7 games. He came in with so much hype, and I think his game has been nitpicked to a level that we probably haven't seen for a college hockey player in some time. Yeah. And not to say he doesn't have things to work on. He obviously does. And That's why you come to college hockey, right?
Mhm.
Things were exposed in his game that probably wouldn't have at a junior level. He was just so much better than everyone there. But hey, it looks like things are clicking. He's got 14 points in 7 games and scored in that game, had 2 assists. But yeah, that was a really good college hockey game to watch that afternoon.
7 goals in his last 5 or something like that too. So he's starting to find the net as well. Let's go around the country here. Let's start in Atlantic hockey, and I want to know what's gotten into Jake Black at Bentley. Holy buckets!
Yeah, Bentley's leading scorer. He played 2 years at UConn.
Mhm.
He had 2 points as a freshman, 4 points as a sophomore. He transfers to Bentley, 7 points as a junior. He has 26 points as a senior. How many did he have in January?
He had 17 points in 10 games in January. Led the country in January.
The country's leading scorer. His point streak is at probably 10. 9.
Yeah.
9-game point streak.
Yeah.
So, talking to some Bentley people, he's a guy who I think they pegged who always had skill, and things are just starting to click right now for him. He maybe has a little more confidence than he had, but this is why Bentley was really excited to get him out of the transfer portal. I think they saw the potential of him being an offensive difference maker, and it's happening right now. And Bentley's starting to run away with Atlantic. Maybe run away is too strong, but they're the clear-cut favorite right now to win.
Yeah, Holy Cross can power its way into that conversation with it. They play this weekend.
That's the one question for Bentley. Bentley has to play Holy Cross in 2 games and Sacred Heart in 2 games coming up in the month of February. So the schedule does lend to it gives other teams an opportunity. And those are 2, Holy Cross and Sacred Heart, I think, are 2 of the teams that are more dangerous in that league. So it's not an easy closing schedule, but I just don't see them not winning the league. I think the championship goes through Bentley this year.
They're probably in the driver's seat. They are in the driver's seat, barring a Holy Cross sweep this weekend. Right now, 9 points between those 2 teams. RIT is actually in the middle of them with 37, but they've played 2 more games. So percentage points wise, it's Bentley's by quite a bit right now, again, barring a Holy Cross sweep. So still, that'll be a good series to watch this weekend in Atlantic hockey. And speaking of big series to watch, as we shift to the Big Ten, it's Michigan State week. Saturday's game will be at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. Michigan in first place in the Big Ten with 36 points. Michigan State right behind with 35 points. They're both on 6-game winning streaks. This will be a beauty.
Yeah, this will be a great series. The first time they played, they split too. It was, I think, did each team win on the road too?
I believe so, yeah.
I think Michigan goes and wins 3-0 in the opener. Then it was 3-1 Michigan State in the series finale. So 2 really good games. I'm not sure if I expected them to be low scoring, but they were. So yeah, you've got 2 of the best teams here. Michigan is shooting for a conference title. Yep, I think that's one of the big stories. Michigan has not won a league title in the regular season since 2011. It has been 15 years, and they're the only team in the Big Ten that has not won a Big Ten regular season title. Everyone else has done it. Notre Dame has, Ohio State, Minnesota's won it a lot. Wisconsin's won it. Penn State's won it. Michigan State finally got theirs a couple years ago. It's Michigan trying to win that. And
every time I see that, it reads like a typo. Every time.
It is crazy. About Michigan State, Michigan, they're a point apart. This could determine that. Penn State is lurking. They could get into that race. last weekend's sweep by Michigan State really hurt Penn State's chances, but they could work their way in as well. So I think we have a 3-team race to win the Big Ten regular season title. Wisconsin is kind of bowed out of that race. They were in it. I think they're a long shot now. So
Michigan State also won 2 in the NPI. 13-1 combined in January, playing their best hockey perhaps right now. So, and you mentioned Wisconsin, so let's dive into them next. That's 6 straight losses now. They were swept by Minnesota last weekend, and to add injury to insult, maybe I should say, Logan Hensler, the pretty nasty looking injury. It sounds like he's out, I guess indefinitely is the way to put it right now.
Yeah, that did not look good. Lower body injury for Hensler. Yeah, it did not look great. That was probably the big shock result of the weekend, right? Minnesota comes in 7 straight losses, longest losing streak for the Gophers since 97-98. And all of a sudden, big rivalry series, you just don't know what can happen. Yeah. And the Gophers come alive in that series, 4-1 victory in the series opener. And the alarming thing for the Badgers was the Badgers could not kill a Gopher power play. The Gophers went 2 for 3 on the power play in the series opener. In the series finale, the Gophers were 4 for 5. So they were 6 for 8 on the power play over the weekend. And that was really the difference. The Gophers also had a 4-on-4 goal. They had a shorthanded goal. Special teams were massive in that series, and Minnesota had them. So speaking of wins that had to feel good for a team that just has gone through it this year, the Gophers had to feel really good about how they played this weekend. The fans got to see the Saturday night game was 8-4. They got to see a lot of goals in that game. But yeah, the Badgers suddenly, it's crazy how quickly things can turn. It was like less than 3 weeks ago, the Badgers were 15-3-2 and number 3 in the MPI.
Man.
And all of a sudden they're 14 and on the bubble, just like that. Things can happen in a hurry. If you're a Badger fan, if there's a light coming up here, the next 4 games are against teams with losing records. They do host Notre Dame, who is going through its own struggles, and then a road game at Ohio State, which won't be easy, but you're not playing Michigan or Michigan State. Then the Badgers close with Michigan and Penn State. So these next 2 weeks, I feel, are just crucial for Wisconsin to get on the right track before having to play Michigan and Penn State to end the regular season.
Currently 14 in the NPI, so they're in, but they're in that territory where you're praying for no upsets come conference tournament time. That's not a fun spot to be in. No, you want to be up a couple spots higher. And you know what else is not a fun about that spot for other teams? What if you get like a 1 seed and you end up having to play Wisconsin first round? Ugh. It's true. Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, we're going to look at the tournament field in the coming weeks here, and we're going to say that about a lot of teams, I think. I think so. Range. You and I have texted about no one's going to want to play this team. No one's going to want to play this team as a 1 seed. Like a St. Cloud State or a Minnesota State, where these are teams that are going to be terrifying. Like the BC just bumped out of 4 seed territory. I do think they're going to keep climbing. They're playing so well right now. Yeah. But like you would have had potential of like BC St. Thomas, which had 11 straight wins, and Wisco being 4 seeds. UConn's a 4 seed right now too. It's if you're a 1 seed, are you eager to play Josh Kotai, Alex Tracy, Michael Robel in the first round? Yeah, that's crazy. That's the depth of college hockey this year.
Yeah, so that's where I don't. Is it like that big of an advantage to get a 1 seed? I don't know. You're you're getting a miserable matchup. It's not like some of the old days where we could say, okay, this is a pretty heavy favorite here. Man, some really good teams. And I mean, Denver's a 3, BC would be the worst 3 right now. I mean, it's going to be a fun tournament. And I'm going to wish that we had like best of 7 series, because imagine like watching series with these teams.
Let's get David Carl on that bandwagon. Let's see where he can take that one.
Let's go.
CCHA, speaking of the bubble, so St. Thomas is 13, Augustana is 16. They're both playing really well and just can't gain any ground beyond that bubble territory.
Yeah, they're sitting right there. So, like you said, St. Thomas 13, Augie is 16, Minnesota State is 17, Michigan Tech is 20. So they're all like hovering right there. How many of them are going to get up into that range? We'll see. St. Thomas is really playing well, though. But the next 2 series for the Tommies, at Bowling Green, who also is playing really well, and home against fellow bubble team Augustana.
That's a big one.
So that'll be in like they have a bye week in between there.
Yeah, they only have 6 games left.
Yeah. Augie this weekend at Michigan Tech. Then Augie hosts Bowling Green, then goes to St. Thomas. So we have some really, really critical matchups in the CCHA that are going to affect the entire country, because all of these teams are on the bubble right now. Can some teams rise up and solidify a spot, or other teams going to fall off? I have a feeling when you look at the MPI right now, you're going to have a lot of teams like in Hockey East, UConn, UMass. Those teams are going to be watching the CCHA closely. Wisconsin probably is going to be watching the CCHA closely. So a lot of shifting could happen there.
Let's give a quick nod too, while we're on the CCHA, to Lucas Wahlin. 12-game point streak going right now. That's the longest in the country this season. 11 goals during that stretch. We don't hear much about him, but he's been a good college hockey player for a long time. 40-plus points last season. Just kind of stays under the radar and just keeps piling up points. Yeah,
he's an exceptional player. He's 123 for his career. Yeah. Now that he went over 30 points last weekend, he has 3 straight 30-point seasons. He is one of the great stories in college hockey. If you look at his development path, this kid was playing in the North American 3 League. I'm not talking the NAHL. I'm talking the NA3, and how he's risen up from there to be one of the best players in the entire country. A guy who I think is probably going to he sent NHL scouts watching him play as an undrafted free agent here as a senior. I really think there's a good chance he gets a deal. A lot of times when you watch St. Thomas games, when his line's on the ice. It is down in one end when his unit comes out. He's had, they've kind of shifted line mates throughout the year, but yeah, he's an unbelievable hockey player.
Let's talk ECAC, and man, there's an incredible race shaping up, conference race down the stretch here. 4 teams: Dartmouth, Quinnipiac, Cornell, Harvard, separated by 3 points. Cornell and Quinnipiac have 1 game in hand on the other 2, but this is a dogfight here right now.
Yeah, I really think it's going to come down to the top 3. Harvard's sitting right there. They're kind of lurking, but, Dartmouth hanging in there. Cornell and Quinnipiac have both been really good this season. We'll see where that one comes out. Quinnipiac just hasn't had very many hiccups this year. That's, they're pretty consistent. And, the schedule, they do have to play Cornell 1 time, I think, head to head. So that will be a big series, or a big game that is at Quinnipiac. So yeah, there's a really good race coming up with those teams right now. they're both sitting pretty well in the MPI. Cornell's at 7.
3 teams in the top 10.
Yeah, Dartmouth's at 10. Dartmouth is obviously got off to that really good start. Then Dartmouth has hit a little bit of a hiccup, but a really big weekend last weekend to be able to beat Union and beat RPI. The Dartmouth goes on the road now, so 5 straight road games, the next 5 for Dartmouth. We'll see how those ones go. But yeah, I think it's a 3-horse race right there, and we'll see if Harvard can work its way in coming up down the stretch.
In Hockey East, you touched earlier on UMass and Providence. They're both on 6-game winning streaks right now. 7, I can't recall. I think it's 6.
7 for Providence.
Okay.
Yeah, because they beat Maine in a single game. That's. But Providence's winning streak, not only is it 7 games, it is Maine, BC, BU, BU.
Right, yeah. And then UMass, 5 of their 7 have come on the road, which is pretty incredible. So those two have it going right now.
Yep, and the goals against have been really low for Michael Hrabel. That UMass Lowell game, one thing to watch on Sunday, Vaclav Nestersil went down with an injury. He left the game and did not come back. In his absence, Jack Musa absolutely went off and put the team on his back. He ended up having a 4-point night. He was really, really dominant in that game, and they needed it from him. Lowell had a good push, but Lowell was the first team to really get to Michael Hrabel in a long time. But we'll see if we can find any updates about Nestersil, because he's been such an important player for UMass this season. UMass has 2 more coming up against Lowell this weekend, so 3 straight games against Lowell. But
Nestersil will be just a devastating injury. I watched Providence Maine on Saturday, a really good game. Providence tied it with 5 seconds left with an extra attacker, and then Logan Sawyer with an absolute snipe to win it in overtime. The Friars are all the way up to number 6 now in the NPI.
Yeah, and the other, I think we touched on it last week, but this winning streak comes in correlation with their starting goalie getting hurt. Jack Parsons has gone in, and I think he had started 1 game before the streak, and he has reeled off 7 straight wins in net. So really big for Jack Parsons to come in and hold the fort the way he's done it. Coming up now for Providence, 1 game against New Hampshire, 1 against Vermont this weekend. Then they play a 2-game series against Northeastern, 2 games against Vermont, 2 against New Hampshire. These are games that Providence can keep winning. So we'll see if things can keep rolling there. We talked about UMass. UMass is lurking now on the bubble. There's still work to do for UMass to get up into NCAA contention. They're at 18. So some real big games coming up for UMass. They would love to have Nestersil back.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one for sure. Boston University, you were texting me about their power play. I can't remember if it was yesterday or over the weekend, but quite a stark contrast from the first month right now.
Yeah, they were at 27% in the first month of the season. In the last 3 months, BU's power play is 4 for 57. That is 7%. When you have Cole Hudson, Cole Iserman, Sasha Boisvert, Tynan Lawrence, Ryder Ritchie, and all those options. Jack Harvey scored 3 of those 4 power play goals, by the way.
Yeah, that's another one that looks like a typo when you look at it. 4 power play goals in 3 months is just it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, they for whatever reason, they just cannot get that power play going, and they've really struggled offensively. And I think the power play is a big reason for it. They just cannot get power play goals right now. The Beanpot game, BU only had one chance, didn't score on it. So we'll see if BU can get that power play going. They, as you said, they need wins. BU right now is 24 in the MPI. They do have good opponents coming up, which can help boost that with 3 games against BC in the next 6. They play Maine this weekend, and if you remember way back October 31st, November 1st, BU went to Maine and had a rough weekend, gave up 13 goals in that series. This time, Maine has to come to Aganis. And Maine has had its ups and downs lately, too.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if Maine can get back on track here. That's a team that's only played 1 home game since mid-December, and they're back on the road again. So we'll see how that goes for Maine. They've been really up and down this year.
Let's talk about a team that's up right now in the NCHC, and that is the Miami Redhawks. They are coming off their first NCHC road sweep in 5 years. They swept St. Cloud State on the road, currently 19 in the NPI, and wins in 6 of their last 7. Good story this year coming out of Oxford.
Yeah, incredible turnaround. Miami coach Anthony Noreen, his first year they won 3 games. He completely turned over that roster almost. 21 new players on their team. And Miami has 16 wins, 7-7-2 in the NCHC. And last year it was 0-23-1. So just a remarkable turnaround for Miami. St. Cloud had been a place of nightmares for that team. And to go in there and win 2 is crazy, I'm sure, for Miami fans. They know the history at St. Cloud is not pretty. I kind of thought at the start of the year, Miami won a bunch of games, and I know people were talking about them then, but you're looking at the opponents, and I was like, okay, they've had starts like this the last few years too. They haven't played a super challenging non-conference. I want to see what happens when they get into the meat of the NCH schedule. Well, I think we've seen what happens. They're playing really, really well. Mateo Drobak has been a find in net for them. Miami recruited the Clark Cup winning goaltender, Shika Godziev, out of Muskegon. And Godziev was a cornerstone of that recruiting class, and he was unable to get eligible. So Godziev ends up turning pro, and they have to turn to Drobak, and boy, has he been pretty good for them. Mateo Giampa, the transfer from Canisius, he leads the team in scoring. He's dynamic. Another guy, David Deputy, he's a really good college hockey player. He just had a hat trick, a week ago. Deputy was part of that team that won the Clark Cup in Muskegon. Big reason why they won. So he's a winning player, and it's amazing what they've been able to do this season. And you know what? They are lurking now in the MPI after that week, and they kind of flipped with St. Cloud State. St. Cloud was on the borderline. And after that weekend, the Huskies dropped to 25. Miami's up to 19. There is an opportunity for the Redhawks, and the schedule is not easy. The Redhawks have to play Western Michigan, North Dakota, and Minnesota Duluth the next 3 weekends. So as challenging that is, it also leads an opportunity for the Redhawks to get into that top 16. Boy, would that be an insane story if they did it.
As well as potentially home ice in the conference playoffs, which probably would have been unthinkable a year ago at this time. They're 4 points behind Duluth right now, but they have 2 games in hand. And a thing I was thinking about while you were talking about some of the players, if you think back a decade plus to the tail end of their CCHA days and their early days in the NCHC, it always felt like Miami had wave after wave of high-end game breakers. Austin Zarnik, Riley Barber, Blake Coleman. It went Sean Corrali, Belpedio. It went on and on and on. Guys that were dangerous in all three zones, dangerous shorthanded. It feels like Anthony Noreen has restored a lot of that high-end ability to that roster.
He has. And he's done a great job recruiting. Like, there have been times in the past handful of years where they get recruits, and I'm like, I have no idea who this guy is. I've never heard of him. And now a lot of the recruits, it's like, oh, okay. These are really good hockey players. And you know what? They've got some more coming. I was, watching some a WHL game, and they have a defenseman named Timothy Runso, by the way, who's coming in. He plays for Victoria. Oh, can he make plays? I'm like, man, when is the last time Miami's had a D-man quite this dynamic? He is really good. So, like, they're recruiting really well. Anthony Noreen, David Nyes, who does a lot of recruiting on that staff as well, has been a pretty highly touted recruiter for a while. He was in the USHL before. I think he had a stint in the NTDP. But he's, they have a very good staff there, and they're obviously not only identifying guys, but the tough part is convincing guys like that to come to a program that's been downtrodden. And they've obviously been able to convince guys, hey, they might, we haven't even mentioned the fact that they might have a first round pick this year. Ilya Morozov could go in the first, and we'll see if they can keep this wave going. But no matter what happens the rest of the season, just an incredible turnaround for that program.
No question. Speaking of turnarounds, Denver may be back on track after sweeping Minnesota Duluth this past weekend. It's Gold Pan rivalry week. It's Denver against Colorado College. The 1-0 win on Saturday for Denver. Rieger Lorenz had the game winner, but Johnny Hicks picked up his first career shutout one night after leaving the Friday game early with an injury, which was the last thing Denver would have needed.
Yeah, kind of a crazy story. So go back to last Saturday. They're playing St. Cloud State, and Quentin Miller, who has played almost every game for them this year, less than 5 minutes into the game, he had only made one save in the game. He leaves with an injury, and they put in Johnny Hicks, who had he even started the game yet? I don't know if he had.
I don't think so.
So Johnny Hicks comes in and plays the last 55 minutes and shuts out St. Cloud State. Since that, he did leave the game with an injury, and then they put in Paxton Geisel for the last 9 minutes and 26 seconds of that game. And Paxton Geisel isn't exactly your typical third string goalie. Like, He was a starter in the USHL. I think he played in the All-American game too one year, like a little bit different. So Johnny Hicks, since that injury to Quentin Miller, he stopped 70 of 71. Just remarkable what he
against teams that can put the puck in the net.
Yeah, St. Cloud, Minnesota, Duluth. That had to be the first weekend all year that Max Plant, Zam Plant, and Jason Chagabe all held without a point for an entire weekend. So really impressive from Denver on that aspect. And they're going to play a Colorado College team that I watched their games this weekend, and I was texting some people. I'm like, Colorado College always looks so good, and they play well, and they find ways to lose.
Yeah.
And they did come back on Friday. They were down 3 goals in the third period. I think I texted someone as I was watching the third, and then they score a goal. Okay, well, they tied it up. They ended up losing in overtime. Great play by Bennett Shimmick, by the way, to set up Joel Shelberg for the winner. But then CC comes back the next night, outshoots ASU 42-22 and wins. So CC's a dangerous team. If they can get a few goals to pop, they're a dangerous team. Nobody wants to play that squad first round. They're getting a little bit healthier. Owen Beckner's back in the lineup now. And the mid-season pickup on the back end of Mats Lindgren, he is a 4th-round pick of the Buffalo Sabres. He is kind of their D-man that they are replacing Max Burkholder with. Burkholder went down with a season-ending injury early in the year. Mats Lindgren, 8 points in 8 games, 4 goals. He has been a game changer for
godsend. Yeah. Hey, I want to go back to the Johnny Hicks thing real quick before we move on. And if you'll think back several weeks ago, maybe even several months ago, it might have been one of the first What We Learned segments. We learned that teams need 2 goalies more often than not. And now, so we're seeing Jack Parsons in Providence keep the train on the tracks. We're seeing Stephen Peck at Michigan keep the train on the track. And now Johnny Hicks coming up big for Denver with Quentin Miller going down. So, just wanted to pat ourselves on the back for that early season diagnosis that, hey, 2 goalies are better than 1 goalie.
And, sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen. Colorado College started Jackson Unger on Saturday night, and he stopped 21 of 22. Is Jackson Unger going to play in the Gold Pan game this weekend? Who knows? But yes, it's we have learned it is important to have 2 goaltenders playing this season. That's been a big theme.
From the Gold Pan to the Governor's Cup, we talked about it a lot last week. We're going to talk about it again this week. Alaska swept Long Island, 4 wins in 5 games for the Nanooks. So now Alaska has 6 games left, all against their rival Alaska Anchorage. The Seawolves will mix in a trip to Lindenwood in the middle of that. But here we go. Governor's Cup time the rest of the way.
Yep. In the first, so they've played 2 games. The Seawolves won a shootout in the first one, and the Nanooks won in regulation on the second one. It really feels like the Nanooks are heavy favorites. The Nanooks have won the Governor's Cup a lot. When's the last time?
Is it 8 in a row?
It's more than that, I think. Let me see. I've got it. I just looked this up.
I just read our friend.
Maybe it's
Ian
not.
Martin's release.
Okay. Either way, Alaska has won, I think, 19. Anchorage has won 8. And last year's was really close. Last year's was like, I think Fairbanks went 3-2-1 in the 6 games. So,
And they switched to a point system this year, correct? This is the first year of that system.
yeah. So I think the last time Anchorage won it was 2009.
Okay. Man.
Unless he's counting the ones that I think some might have been vacated or something.
Yeah, I can't find it now. My bad. This is literally my job, and I cannot find it right now.
They've won at least
a long
11.
time. Yeah. Whether it's 8
been
in
a
a row,
long time.
12 in a row. Yeah. So 6 straight games for Alaska against Alaska Anchorage. There's going to be some snarl by the end of those 6 games.
Yes. The next 4 are in Anchorage. So
We should say, too, I don't think we've talked about this year. These games matter to these teams that will all play at the end of the year for the first time in the United Collegiate Hockey Cup. That will be that's the end of season, basically a conference tournament for the independent programs. Lindenwood will host this first one in Maryland Heights, Missouri, in the St. Louis area. That's the first weekend in March. So these games determine the seeding for that tournament, which I promise you these teams will want to win.
absolutely, a chance to win a trophy. I heard you're going out there.
Yeah, I'll be there at least the first 2 nights, I think. I just booked my
Nice.
hotel this week, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's a nice facility. I got to cover a regional there. Might be challenging to have a 4-team regional there, but it's going to be a fun place to watch a game. Every seat's a great seat. The Blues practice there, I believe. So, that should be a fun tournament to check out.
Yeah, and good on these programs for making this tournament happen. This is important for the student athletes. We went through it when I was at North Dakota, and you covered it when North Dakota was transitioning and didn't have an auto bid situation yet, and took part in the Great West Conference. It was mostly a scheduling alliance, basically. But that end of season tournament, while it didn't come with an auto bid, the teams wanted to win that trophy, as you said. They wanted to make the all tournament team. This is a chance for those student athletes to experience that.
There might be a little extra this year too, because you want to be the first one to win it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You always want to be able to say you were the first to win that tournament. So it'll be interesting to see how those teams match up. Obviously they play a lot at the end of the year when everyone else is playing conference games. So the coaching staffs might not have to watch a lot of video to scout their opponents heading into that. So that is coming up.
A lot of those teams can put the puck in the net too. So it's going to be fun hockey. Yeah. Okay, let's look ahead now to this weekend. There are a ton of head-to-heads involving teams inside the top 20, top 25 of the NPI. We've also got some more rivalry games, as we touched on, Denver CC, UMass Lowell. We've got a Cornell Colgate home and home. Other than the series you're covering at Minnesota Duluth, which will be massive. What else are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I think you've got to start with Michigan State. You just don't have a ton of 1 versus 2 matchups in college hockey. Like, you don't see that every single year. It comes along every so often. We have one this weekend, and not only is it 1-2, but it is 2 rivals going 1-2. So that one's going to be a terrific one. I think that us NCAA tournament people are who like to follow that. We're all going to be watching the CCHA closely. They have so many bubble teams right now that's going to impact. And when you have, St. Thomas at Bowling Green, Augie playing at Michigan Tech, I think those are going to be important games to the NCAA tournament. So I'm checking those out. I'll be, as you said, going to Minnesota Duluth. The Bulldogs will be without goalie Adam Guyan. He has gone to the Olympic Games. Adam Guyan is 1-4 with an .850 save percentage against Nodak and has been yanked like 3 times. So maybe it's also not the worst thing to try someone else against them. Ethan Dahlmeyer will be the guy in net for the Bulldogs, who have lost 4 in a row. Granted, it's been Western Michigan, Denver in those 4 games. All 4 1-goal games. 2 of them overtime. So I'm not sure we can call it a demise of Minnesota Duluth. They're playing head-to-head, coin flip games with the best teams in the country right now. So it should be a good series in Amsoil Arena. Here's a stat for you, by the way, that's maybe shocking. The Bulldogs haven't beat North Dakota in Amsoil in over 6 years now.
That's stunning.
Isn't that crazy?
Stunning.
So that'll be a good one. I think the gold pan will be great. The first series between those 2 teams was fantastic. I think that'll be good. And UMass Lowell, I think there's going to be a little bit of an edge to those games. They just played on Sunday. They're playing 2 more times this weekend. Sunday's game, there were a lot of goals scored. That might be a fun one.
Tons to watch this weekend. February is going to go fast. It's going to be tournament time before we know it. So these games are huge nationally. These games are huge in terms of conference races. We'll keep breaking it all down again next week. Schloss, you're hitting the road tomorrow. What are you working on before you get on the highway?
Yeah, and before we close this, but by the time we record the next pod, the Beanpot final will be played too. So let's mark that on the things to watch because that's Monday night. Nobody else plays usually Monday nights, so that should be a good one.
300 all-time meeting, fittingly. Between
that'll be a good one. I'm working on some previews this weekend and a feature on Anthony Mangini. The former Bulldog is going back to play against Minnesota Duluth, his old team. And I'll be breaking down the goalie situation for Minnesota Duluth this weekend. By the way, one last thing to mention: the Bulldogs. So the Bulldogs have a bye week next week. What a great time for a bye week. They didn't know at the time Adam Guyano was going to be at the Olympics, but they got a great time bye week. And then the week after that, they play at Miami. And those are the two teams that may be fighting for home ice, depending on how things go. Guyana and Slovakia will definitely be playing Tuesday of that week. They lose. Will he get back by Friday to Oxford, Ohio? That is
up on that direct Milan to Oxford flight. Right?
Yeah, yeah. What airport? There is no airport in Oxford. So yes, that will be a potential storyline to follow in 2 weeks. And the opening ceremonies, of course, coming up here for the Olympic Games. A lot of former college guys will be playing, men's and women's in hockey. So should be 2 fun tournaments to follow.
No shortage of fun hockey to follow right now. We thank you for your time. Travel safe tomorrow. Take care of Darren Looker for us as always. And thank you all for listening. Enjoy the hockey.